Hey guys, this video is about destroying a reputation way too quickly that took eons to build, and how Trump might have a point about the fake media. Today we're going to discuss the New York Times column about Cenk Uygur as Bernie Sanders retracted, yoink, his recommendation, his endorsement of the Young Turk from the Young Turks, who is running for Congress in California to replace disgraced Katie Hill, who recently resigned. And Bernie yanks his endorsement, New York Times prints a column, and then mentions how Cenk Uygur once interviewed David Duke. And when David Duke said he wasn't a racist, Cenk stated, of course not. Of course, that is literally what Cenk did, but the New York Times seems to be intentionally taking this out of context. For what possible reason, I'm not sure. Cenk's progressive, they are progressive. These stable house of progressive reporters they have, I really don't think that they have anybody really on the conservative side. Nevertheless, this is how they are framing it in such a way that the reader who doesn't know Cenk might think that he is supporting David Duke, again, the avowed white supremacist who many of you might have heard of. And there's no possible way. I wouldn't even have to see the video in question to guarantee you to shove all my chips in the middle and say, I'm all in on Cenk being completely sarcastic when that's stated. And of course, when I go and watch the video, throughout the entire video, Cenk is being sarcastic in his super unfunny way. Cenk is one of the least humorous people that is generally on the air that I see. And I'm not a big fan of the guy. He did something similar to what the New York Times did. He had Sam Harris, who came on for 3 hours to talk about his position on Islam, and Cenk then twisted Sam Harris's words, called him Scam Harris to his listeners, and made him seem that he was a bigot, basically called him a bigot. And it really left a bad taste in my mouth, one of the many reasons that I'm not a big fan of the man. And the fact that I'm standing up for Cenk right now is because I'm holding up the shield of truth against those who are trying to portray him in such a negative light that he would be affirmative of David Duke, that he would seem to be supporting David Duke as the Times is trying to convey. And of course, the Times did print, after much uproar, a retraction/correction, but who cares, because most people don't really see the correction, they see what was originally printed. And now the point of this, Donald Trump says fake news. This is fake news. Cenk Uygur, I support you in this case. You are being smeared. The New York Times has done a smear job about you, and it's really sad and it's really sick. The reason that I think that it's sad is because for me, the New York Times used to be the gold standard of journalism. If it was printed in the Times, I believed it. The entire continent believed it because it was the New York Times, because it was vetted, because you had people that, at least in theory, were held and trying to uphold the truth. That is no longer the case. And they built this reputation, and perhaps it wasn't so easy to cross-reference before, but they built this reputation up over eons. It took decades for them to ascend to this level. It was a beacon of light, a beacon of truth that could be seen cross-continentally. And today, that beacon of truth is just spreading lies. And they try to frame Trump's calling MS-13, the vicious Salvadorian gang, as animals, and try to frame it in such a manner that he's calling all immigrants animals. They print a story about Brett Kavanaugh where the main person in question won't even affirm of what took place, and it's all done on hearsay. They smeared the Covington kids when the black Hebrew Israelites were not even really mentioned in the article, I'm not sure, but they were there, and all you would have had to do was do some digging and uncover the video, but they wanted to frame it in such a way that the Covington kids were the villains. And of course, that wasn't the case. There wasn't truth printed, and there's innumerable number of these things, and the Cenk Uygur thing is just the cherry on top of the sundae, and I'm sure that in the next few days we'll get another cherry and yet another cherry, and I'm not sure why, because the point of this video is it takes so long to build a reputation. You put all your heart, all your soul into a business, and then within a few negative occurrences with malfeasance to journalism, malfeasance to the truth, and you have basically, in my mind at least, destroyed it, because now the New York Times, which was up here, is now basically on par with Fox News. I really don't think that there's that much of a difference between them in how they're reporting. In fact, I don't think that Fox News, despite being a more conservative outlet, tried to frame Cenk Uygur as being supportive of David Duke. It's just dishonest. It's totally, totally dishonest. So Trump, he has a point, man. It's fake news. There's a lot of it out there, and this just bolsters his case. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to get this guy reelected by printing this stuff and making us lose the idea of your integrity? We look upon you as an integrous entity, and here you go, and you're basically just dismantling it. One lie, one misrepresentation at a time. And Cenk, in fact, stated on Twitter that he had sent the reporter in question, before she had written the article, this interview with David Duke, so that she would get the context correct. It has to be intentional. It's either you're incredibly bad at your job or you're a liar. It's one of the two, and regardless, to have this printed in the New York Times, it's a sad day for me. It's a sad day for America that these institutions are tearing themselves apart in the name of trying to defile some political enemy. But nevertheless, it is a tragedy for America that this institution is just being drowned. This institution is drowning in the river of lies that it pours out on a continual basis. And I don't know whether they can resurrect themselves. I honestly can't tell you that the New York Times, in my mind, can come back to what it once was without a heck of a lot of work. So again, you work so hard to build up your reputation, don't let it be destroyed. If you guys like this video, make sure to share it, like, subscribe. Peace and blessings to everybody.